I wanted to put out a long and somewhat detailed video about the script, as it has a lot and it can be overwhelming, especially to a new person who's trying to get into development. So I'm gonna just get right into it and kind of go over everything in the config. Permissions, pretty easy to set up. It works off Discord. You can set up your Discord permissions and have certain people access the weather, the time control, the blackout. Um, yeah, and that's really it. Blackout, time control, and weather. But I want to move on. We're going to go from weather options. That includes blackout, and then time control, and then everything else, all the miscellaneous stuff. First, at the very top, you'll see default weather, config.default weather. What this does is if I were to do slash forecast, let's say the server just restarts. So if we were to restart the resource itself. So I want to thank Central State Roleplay for allowing me to test everything on their server. Everything has been great. So as you can see in the config, I have it set to clear, which means that on the resource first starting, or when the server first restarts, it's going to always be clear. Um, of course, when you change this, if I were to change this to um, clouds, then it would continue the cycle and change the cycle. So every time you manually change the weather, it changes everything else too. Uh, just because of that dynamic control, you don't want it to be um, sunny and then randomly it go to rainy and then back to sunny. So that just kind of puts everything in place. Allow snow is pretty easy. So allow snow is off by default. That means you don't want snow to be on the forecast by default or cycle through every forecast. So what this means is through normal forecast cycle, snow will not randomly appear out of nowhere. So it won't go from rainy to snowy out of nowhere. Um, but what you could do is you can do slash toggle snow. I totally forgot the command. Slash toggle snow, and that puts snow on the forecast. This allows me to do slash weather snow, and allows me to enable snow weather. Don't worry about the rain, that's just my graphics. That's nothing to worry about. But if you were to check the forecast, you see snow is actually on the forecast now, and it continues the normal cycle of the other weathers. We're going to change it back to clear. We're going to toggle snow back off. Next, you have smooth weather smooth duration. What this is just how smooth the weather will cycle. Right now, I have it set to 60 seconds. So over 60 seconds, it will cycle to the next weather. What this means, if I were to do slash weather rain, it wouldn't instantly change to rain. It would slowly start dripping down, and then it would smoothly cycle to the next weather over 60 seconds. As you can see here, and then we'll let it kind of do its thing, and you'll see it change. I'll continue talking here as it's doing it. You have weather cycle delay. That's just the delay of how long you want the weather, or how long you want it to automatically change to the next weather on the forecast. On by default, it sets to 30 minutes. What this means is every 30 minutes it will cycle to the next weather. So if I were to go here, right now it's set to rainy. In 30 minutes, it's going to go to foggy. It's going to continue being foggy in another 30 minutes, and then another 30 minutes after that will be cloudy. So a total of an hour and 30 minutes before it goes through this entire cycle. Next, rain forecast. This basically allows you to enable rain being on the forecast. Some people don't like rain being on their server at all. You have the option to disable that. Rain percentage, that's the chance of rain being on the forecast. By default, I have it set to 5% because it can be annoying. So if you were to set it to 100%, rain would always be on the forecast. If you were to set it to 0%, rain wouldn't be on the forecast at all. Foggy chance, that's the chance of fog being on the forecast. And this is all chance based, so you could set it down. I have it set to 10% by default. You could bring it down to 5%. If you were to set it to 100%, then fog would always be on the forecast. If you were to set it to 0, then fog would never be on the forecast. And then you have chat suggestions, which is pretty easy. This is just, if you were to do slash weather, shows that little suggestion there of all the types of weather. And then it says change weather there. And the same thing for the forecast. If I do slash forecast, that's a little suggestion there showing, show the upcoming weather forecast. So next is the blackout script. This is pretty cool. The only configuration option in the config is for you to enable blackout totally or disable it fully if you don't want to use blackout at all in your server. And then you have chat suggestions as well, whether you want blackout, if you were to do slash blackout, to have that suggestion there of what it does. I want to show off, it's pretty simple. Basically, when you do slash blackout, if you have the permissions to do slash blackout, it blacks out the entire city, makes it all dark, city, county, which means Los Santos, Polito, everywhere that has light turns off. The only exception is vehicles. So vehicle lighting, emergency lighting, don't turn off. All right. So if I were to do slash blackout, the entire city blacks out. Now you see vehicle headlights are still on. Everything is still on. You have a little notification at the bottom left there showing that the power outage is ongoing. If I were to turn off lights, police lights are still active. Everything else still works as intended. All it is just no lights. I'm going to remove that. Now, if you were to enable blackout again, there's a little flash effect there. And then lights come back on. So it does that flash effect about 3 to 4 times before bringing all the lights back on. So time control is pretty self-explanatory on how it works in the config. Um, Config disable time control. Now this one can be a little bit confusing for some, but if you have that option set to true, that means time time configuration is fully disabled. That means you can't do slash time, you can't do slash freeze time. That all gets disabled. So set it to false if you want that to be enabled. I'm going to move down here, default hour and default minute. On server being restarted or server being started or the resource being restarted or started, what do you want your time to be? What I have it set up by default is 7 hours, 0 minutes. What this means, if you look at the very bottom there, you're going to see a little time that says 7:11 right there. If I were to restart the resource, so slash restart CSRP weather, it goes back to 7:0, which is what we have that default time set to. So every time the resource is restarted, every time the server is restarted, it's going to always start on that time. Next is smooth time duration. Basically, how smooth time will cycle. A little, a way of explaining this is if you were to do slash time, um, let's say slash time 00, which is nighttime. Instead of it just jumping instantly from day to night, it will smoothly cycle to that next time. So I'll show you here. So if I were to do slash time 00, as you can see, it starts to smoothly cycle over to the next time rather than it just jumping to that next time, which can make it annoying. Sometimes going from night to morning will give you a little random flashbang. So you can see there, everything cycled. Now with this one, you could do slash time and the hour and the minute. If you're a little bit, if you don't want to set the actual hour and minute, I have a couple options there suggested for one of you. So you could use morning, afternoon, evening, or night. So if I do slash time morning, we'll start cycling to the morning time, which I believe I have it set to 7:0. Minute duration. Now this one, pretty self-explanatory. Minute duration is how long you want one in-game minute to be in real life. So I have it set to default by 7 seconds. The default GTA time is 2 seconds. What this means, it will take longer for it to cycle from day to night. It will also take 7 seconds in real life to cycle to one in-game minute. So if you look at the very bottom there, the little time HUD right under the PLD, you can see it kind of moving through, and that's only moving through every 7 seconds. Now, this works with every PLD, every HUD that uses a time option. Now, this will require you to disable any time options in any script. So if any script has, this includes vMenu, if they have weather control, time control, blackout, that will have to be fully disabled in their settings, in the script settings. If you have another scripts weather time options, blackout options enabled, then it may cause the script to not work. Moving down, you have temp ranges and wind ranges. This is kind of more cosmetic and more for the looks. If I were to do slash forecast, you have temp, wind speed, and feels like. Uh, you could set it to however you'd like. Like I'm gonna go with the random weather here. I'm gonna say clear. With clear weather, I have minimum range for wind speeds set to 3 and the maximum wind speed to 6. And then for temperatures, I have it set from 60 to 80, which means it will go between those numbers every time that time is selected. So if it was clear right now, it would go anywhere from 3 to 6 for wind. It would choose a normal heading. It would choose a temperature between 60 and 80, and it feels like from 60 to 80. So if I were to do slash weather, clear again, so you can see it starts going between those numbers and it starts to kind of change things up. And then at the very bottom, for those developers out there that want to export the weather, I've given you some exports. You can export the current weather, which is the first weather option for tonight. You can export the next weather. So if you're making a phone script or any type of script of your own, you can export these two. You can also export the entire forecast. So get full forecast at the very bottom of the config file. You can export every single option on the forecast. And that's really it.